Early morning light moved quietly through the tall windows of the old mansion. The house stood on a quiet hill above the city. A place of polished floors, warm lamps, and memories that seemed older than the walls. Leonard Hale was already awake. Leonard was 58 years old. His hair was neatly brushed back with soft silver at the sides. His face carried the calm lines of a man who had lived long enough to understand both success and regret. People across the city knew him as a billionaire. A powerful businessman. A man who owned companies, buildings, and influence. But this morning Leonard was simply a man holding a cup of warm coffee and listening to the quiet sound of birds outside. Morning had always been his favorite time. It reminded him of years long gone. Years when life moved slower. When his mother would hum old songs while cooking breakfast in their small home. Leonard often thought about those mornings. Money could buy almost anything. But it could never buy back time. He walked slowly through the hallway of the mansion. The house staff had already begun their work. Soft footsteps moved in distant rooms. A broom brushed gently across the floor somewhere down the corridor. Leonard turned toward the kitchen. That was when he saw her. Amara Cole stood near the counter. She was 32 years old. Young compared to Leonard. Yet her eyes carried a quiet strength that felt much older. Amara had worked in the house for 3 years. She was known by everyone as kind, calm, and hardworking. But this morning something was wrong. Leonard stopped walking. Amara turned slightly when she heard his steps. The light from the window touched her face. And Leonard saw the bruises. Dark marks rested beneath her eyes. One along her cheek. Faint but impossible to ignore. For a moment the room became very still. Amara quickly lowered her eyes. "Good morning, sir," she said softly. Her voice was steady. But Leonard noticed the small tension in it. Leonard placed his coffee cup slowly on the table. He did not raise his voice. He did not react with anger. Instead he spoke gently. "Amara." She looked up carefully. "Yes, sir." Leonard studied her face again. "There are marks on your face." A quiet breath left her lips. "It is nothing, sir. Just a small accident." Leonard remained silent for a moment. Years of business had taught him something important. Silence often revealed more truth than questions. Amara tried to return to her work. She reached for a cloth and began wiping the counter. But her hands moved slower than usual. Leonard walked closer. His voice stayed calm. "Amara. Who hurt you?" The cloth in her hand stopped moving. She did not answer. For a few seconds the only sound in the room was the distant ticking of a clock. Finally she spoke. "It is nothing, sir. Please do not worry." Leonard shook his head slowly. "I am already worried." Amara kept her eyes down. Some stories are difficult to tell. Especially when pain has been hidden for a long time. Leonard remembered something his father once told him many decades ago. When someone hides their pain, it is not because they want to deceive you. It is because they fear what may happen if the truth comes out. Leonard pulled a chair and sat down. "Amara. You have worked in this home for 3 years. You have always been honest with me. Today I ask you to be honest again." Her shoulders trembled slightly. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, "My husband." The words rested in the air like a heavy weight. Leonard leaned back slowly. He had heard stories like this before. But hearing it in his own home felt different. Amara continued speaking. Her voice quiet but steady. "He drinks at night. Sometimes he becomes angry. Sometimes he forgets who he is." Leonard listened carefully. Amara did not cry. Instead she spoke like someone who had grown tired of carrying silence. "My mother used to say something when I was young." She paused. She said a person should never allow pain to become their normal life. But sometimes life becomes difficult to escape. Leonard felt a deep sadness in his chest. He looked at the bruises again. "Amara. Why did you not tell anyone?" She gave a small sad smile. "People often look away from problems like this. They say it is private. Or they say time will fix things. Leonard slowly stood. His expression remained calm. But something inside him had changed. He walked toward the large window. For many years Leonard had built companies, negotiated deals, and made decisions worth millions. But none of those decisions ever felt as important as this moment. He turned back toward Amara. "You will not return to that house tonight." Amara looked surprised. "Sir." Leonard continued. "You will stay here for now. In the guest wing. You will rest. You will feel safe." Amara shook her head gently. "Sir, I cannot cause trouble." Leonard smiled softly. Helping someone is never trouble. For a moment Amara looked like she might cry. But instead she nodded slowly. "Thank you, sir." That morning something unexpected happened. Word quietly spread through the house staff. Mr. Hale had cancelled every meeting that day. Phones stopped ringing in the office. Assistants whispered in the hallways. The billionaire who never slowed down had suddenly chosen something else. He chose compassion. Later that afternoon Leonard sat with Amara in the sun room. The warm light made the room peaceful. Leonard spoke slowly. "When I was a boy, my mother worked as a cleaner in a large hotel. She worked long hours. Sometimes people ignored her. Sometimes they spoke to her like she was invisible." He smiled softly. "But she used to tell me something important. She said, Leonard, no matter how high you rise in life, never forget the people who work quietly around you. Because they are the ones who carry the world on their shoulders." Amara listened closely. Leonard continued. "I promised her I would remember. And today I am remembering." Amara looked at him with quiet gratitude. Days passed. Amara stayed in the guest wing of the mansion. Her bruises slowly faded. But something deeper also began to heal. The staff treated her like family. Leonard checked on her often. Not as an employer, but as a fellow human being. One evening they sat together on the garden bench. The sky was turning orange with sunset. Amara spoke softly. "Sir, why are you helping me so much?" Leonard chuckled gently. "At my age, a person begins to understand something important. Success means very little if kindness is missing." He looked out across the garden. When people reach their 50s and 60s, they start to measure life differently. Not by money. Not by power. But by the number of people whose lives became better because we cared. Amara nodded slowly. Her voice carried warmth now. "My mother would have liked you." Leonard smiled. "I think I would have liked her too." Weeks later Amara made a decision. She would start a new life. With Leonard's help she found a small apartment. A safe place. A quiet beginning. She also began studying again. Something she had once dreamed about. Leonard watched proudly. Sometimes a single moment of compassion can change the direction of an entire life. One morning Amara visited the mansion again. This time her face was bright. Her eyes carried hope instead of fear. Leonard greeted her at the door. "Look at you," he said. "You look stronger." Amara laughed softly. "Because I am." She paused and then said something that stayed with Leonard forever. "You saw me when I felt invisible. That is something I will never forget." Leonard felt warmth in his chest. In that moment the mansion felt less like a building. And more like a home. The world often moves fast. People hurry through life chasing success. But sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simple. To notice another person. To listen. To care. And that is the true spirit of the Black Voices. Stories of dignity, strength, and human connection. Stories that remind us every life deserves respect. Every voice deserves to be heard. And every act of kindness can echo for generations. If this story touched your heart, please like the video. Share it with someone who believes in compassion. Subscribe to the Black Voices for more powerful stories. And tell us in the comments. Have you ever seen a moment of kindness change a life? Your voice matters here. And we would love to hear it.